Ladies and gentlemen, it is not every day that I have the pleasure of being joined by the reigning defending Intercontinental Champion, but here we are. Gunther, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. You're doing all right today? You look like you're in a nice, comfortable room there.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm in my living room.
Excellent, excellent. Now, listen, I have been a lifelong fan of WWE, and I'm very excited that you are part of the WWE family. But for those who might not be overly familiar with you, how did you get your start in professional wrestling?
So I'm from Austria, actually, from Vienna. And to actually get started as a wrestler there is not as easy as it is in the United States, I would say, with other countries. So I think it was 2004 or 5, I started training. I found a wrestling school in Vienna. And yeah, I just started training there. And then over the years, at some point, I think Austria used to host like 5 or 6 or 7 wrestling shows a year. And then that grew a little bit. And then I was able to do a little bit more in Germany. And at some point, then I moved to Germany, where there was a little bit of a bigger wrestling scene. And I think it took me like until, I would say, yeah, almost like 10 years from my first training on to get to a point where, yeah, I really got busier with doing wrestling and actually create a little bit of an income with it, to put a little bit more focus on it. And yeah, and from there, I grit my teeth a little bit and traveled a lot and wrestled a lot, and then finally made it to WWE.
Excellent, excellent. And how's your experience in WWE been so far?
Oh, it's been very good so far. I signed with the company in 2019 for NXT UK. And yeah, I can't complain. It's been really good. I've basically, from the person I've been before on the independents, I'm still myself. I've always been treated with respect, and always had the freedom to like be myself, more or less. And yeah, that's the case still to this day.
Excellent. Now, of course, over the last few years, I mean, we've seen a huge change coming from being in the midst of the pandemic, where you were performing in an empty arena, to, of course, now performing back in front of live shows. How has that transition been like for you?
I gotta say, for me, I gotta say I enjoyed those events we had with in empty arenas. During that time, I was in NXT UK, and for, I think it was at least, I'm bad with taking track of time spans and stuff. So I would say it was at least a year, or maybe a little bit more. Our shows happened in an empty building and got taped in an empty building. Mm-hmm. But I kind of liked that atmosphere. It was different. And for the style I have, a very physical style in the ring, I think I benefited from that a lot too. But to finally be back in an arena with an audience, and have that feeling back is definitely the preferred choice, I would say. I'm glad it's back to normal, and we do a lot of live shows, and get to wrestle in front a lot of different people in a lot of different cities and countries. And yeah, that's what wrestling is, always was to me personally. Even back then as a fan, I always enjoyed wrestling the most as a live experience, not so much as a TV experience. I think that's when our sport is at its purest form, I would say, is at a live event. So I'm glad we're back at it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I've had the opportunity of seeing WWE live many times. Again, like I said, lifelong fan, and I can appreciate being there in person and seeing these, these characters that you've seen on, these superstars that you've seen on TV in person. How would you describe it to somebody who's never been before? Because there are a lot of people that are going to watch this who are huge fans, who can't wait to go. But then there's some people who might never have seen WWE live before. What would you say to those people?
Yeah, like you said, it's very different live. It's the TV experience is different. It's a different dynamic in the matches. While on every Friday and Monday, what you see on TV is obviously the focus is on the home viewer to give them the best experience. And watching something in front of a TV is very different from a dynamic. It has to be way faster paced, and because that's just how entertainment gets consumed today. Everything has to be boom, 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 boom. You cannot give it too much empty space. While on a live event, that's the great, you have a connection with the actual audience that is in attendance. That's your main focus, and you can just let their reactions and their emotions sink in your matches, so to say. And you're in way less rush of a time. There's no time rush or something like that, because there's no time limits or something like that. How it is in TV when you have to hit certain points, and also just the physical experience that you have live. When you're in the audience at a live wrestling event, you hear every bump, you hear every fall on the mat, you hear every strike when you hit it, when the wrestlers hit each other on the chest. That gives you a whole different experience than actually seeing that on TV.
Yeah, I have to say, I've watched different interviews that you've taken part in, and I've had the opportunity of listening to you. And one of the things that I really respect about you is that, yes, this is a job, but you're extremely passionate about this. This is something that you take very seriously, that you really enjoy. And I think that really comes through, not just through speaking with you now, but just through your performances in the ring. Where does that level of passion come from? Is that something that you've always had, just being a fan of the sport?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for mentioning that, because that's definitely the case. Yeah, I've been a lifelong fan before that myself. The first time I got in touch with wrestling actually wasn't even WWE. It was in Vienna. It's the wrestling scene there they used to do tournaments in Germany and Austria. They would come to one city and would have, like, however long the tournament was, 30, 40, 50 days. They would have a show every day at the same place. And it was completely a sports presentation. It's to say, it was a 60-day tournament or something like that. And that was the hot thing in town. Everybody went there. My parents used to go there all the time. So my parents used to take me there for the first time. That's when I saw wrestling live the first time. Like, I couldn't believe it when I experienced it. Yeah. And then later on, I just got into WWE and was watching VHS or on late night on free TV and stuff like that. So that was always my first, like my first contact with wrestling was completely focused on, like, a sports presentation. And then actually going forward, becoming a trainee and a student of the game and stuff like that, I always liked the sports-based presentation more. I consumed a lot of Japanese wrestling, where it's the same, where it's just presented as a sport. And then now with my partner, Ludwig Kaiser, his father used to be a professional wrestler. And my parents used to watch his father wrestle. So that's how long it goes back. And he always was the one who, basically, that's where our character is what our character is influenced by. Okay. by the ideas that he gave us, that you should take the sport seriously, that it's not there. You should never take the sport for your own advantage. You're there to contribute to this sport. That's your job. Like, nobody's bigger than the sport itself. Yeah. And all those ideas is the thing that, myself and also Ludwig, what we try to live every day when we get in the ring and perform in front of an audience. And I think, that sums it up pretty much.
Excellent. I love that. Now, I want to take you through some rapid fire questions really quickly. These are meant to be fun. Don't think too hard on them. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. First of all, I'm a big movie guy, so I always have to ask. My first question is always, what is your favorite movie of all time?
Forrest Gump.
All right. You, like myself, are a huge football fan. I'm not talking about American football. I'm talking European football, world football, the world's game. We've got a big tournament coming up. Who's going to win the World Cup?
Don't care. I don't think I'm going to watch it.
All right, moving on. I know, of course, that you're a big, I believe it's Rapid Vienna fan.
Yes, I grew up in Rapid Vienna, but Schalke 04, those are the two clubs.
Yeah. Do you think the Bundesliga is better than the Premier League?
I prefer the Bundesliga or the Premier League. The Premier League is like a feels like the NHL a little bit. It's too much. It's too much Mickey Mouse and Disneyland for a football league.
All right, fair enough. Moving on. Which WWE superstar would you absolutely love to have a storyline with? Are you going to be the person that finally takes that title off of Roman Reigns, or is there somebody else that you've got your eye on?
Don't have a list for that, but let's say it's Roman Reigns. Yes.
Okay. The WWE had this wonderful mixed tag team tournament. We've had it several times. If you could pick any female superstar on the roster to be your partner, who would it be?
My wife, Ginny.
Love it. Great answer. That's going to keep you in good graces. I'm very cognizant of the time. I will end there. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. Looking forward to seeing you in Ottawa, and again, encouraging everybody to go and grab a ticket and check this out. This is the first time, I believe, in 3 years the WWE has been live here in Ottawa. We cannot wait to welcome you back. And thank you again so much for the time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.